Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, July 15th, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Mountain, my time. Putting up this disclaimer. I see other people doing this as well, and thought I'd just put it out there just to CYA. And note that I am trading on sim accounts, even though I'm on a funded account right now. It's still all sim, so everything's pretty much hypothetical. Please manage your risk, and that's primarily what I want to highlight in my trading is how to manage risk so that you can maintain mental and financial capital so that over a longer period of time, you can find yourself to be able to be sustained in the market and eventually with a profitable strategy, be profitable over the long term. Okay, so with that out of the way, I want to just quickly cover how I am approaching the whole funded account approach. And if we look at, the past on TPT, Take Profit Trader, I just wanted to highlight something here, which is this took a long time. I was in this for 42 trading days and for $1,500. And I think the thing that's interesting here is that you start out that 2,500 buying power and actually fell below that slightly for a few days. And then there's a steady climb up. And I would note that right around this time is where I was able to release my risk managing indicator on NinjaTrader. So that risk indicator or risk management indicator, I think has helped me to find not only the structural points to enter and to set my stop loss, but also to properly manage my monetary value. And I think because of that, it's allowed me to weather, multiple losing days here. See here, I had one and then a win, a couple losing days in a row. And so what I did, I took this output from this trading period and put it into Cloud Fable and did an analysis. And the prompt on this was do an analysis to find out what would be the best balance for a high probability of passing another eval, which is pretty much once you're in a funded account, you have to do because you have to build up the same buffer before you can withdraw anything, and has a low probability of blowing up the account, which I had one funded account previous to this, but I didn't blow it up. Technically, I look at it, it was pretty much a death by 1,000 paper cuts on that paper account because I was just not setting my stop loss in the right spot and getting stopped out on good setups, which was really mentally exhausting. So I did an analysis here on those trades from the last pretty much 6-week period and came up with this plan for how to pass. So I want to share this with you because this is what I'm going to be following this morning and pretty much moving forward on this is that it gave us these numbers here and allowed for 6 to 8 red days in a row. And even if I still have that, the analysis said that emotionally I need to prepare for potentially having this number of red days in a row. But if I follow this sizing ladder plan below, then it should be something that we'll find profitable over the longer period of time. And so the analysis showed that I should only be taking $50 of risk if I am below $500 P&L on the account. So right now, starting out flat, that's where I'm at. So I have $50 set up in my risk calculator. And it gives a hypothetical of, MES, you could have a 5-point stop with 2 contracts, 10-point stop on 1 contract, and a daily lockout of $300, which I thought was interesting because I have a daily lockout set up at $150, so it actually doubled that on an analysis. with the one caveat that if I do happen to be in the green by 75, which is pretty much a 1.5, $50 times 1.5 gives you 75. If I hit that level and then have a drawdown of 0.5, or in this case, $25, then I should just lock out for the day. But it left this $300 lockout because it observed that I was pretty good actually at turning things around when I was down on some initial trades. So it has the fixed risk, which I talked about above, the 1R, which is $50. And then once I go 500 to 1,000 buffer, I can change it to 75. And then above 1,000 can change the risk per trade of $100. And I mentioned that reversal stop up here of 1.5. And I think this was one of the interesting items was that no loss count stop. There's no hard 3 strikes rule. It tested harmful after a loss. You win 46 to 57% of the time versus 31% after a win. So the edge I have lives in re-entries, which tells me to a degree that which I know this is a problem of mine. I get into a trade too early sometimes and got stopped out, and then would either give up or, previously maybe would blow up, hit my stop loss for the day and see then the setup actually pay out the way I expected. So it's saying to not do the 3 strikes and out. And it did mention, this analysis was talking about doing trade copying. So I do have the funded account, plus now I have additional evals set up. And so it just mentioned to make sure I close out with 700 plus on the day because of that risk. There's a rule on Take Profit Trader where you can only make half of your total profit in one day. So that's 750. So I have a lockout of 745 on the eval accounts. And also mention, which I know some of you have mentioned this in the past, is Take Profit Trader does have a trailing floor during the funded phase. Like it doesn't have that in the eval phase, but on the funded phase, if I happen to be up $500 but then go back flat, my floor goes from 1,500 now to 1,000. So it mentioned not to let that floor sneak up on me and to not let runners go back to flat or even red. And so to take those wins and scale out, especially on the pro, lock in those profits, not to get caught by a trailing drawdown that's inside that funded phase. I think in the pro phase, once you go live, not pro phase, but in the live phase rather, you no longer have that in place. So for now, I'm going to also acknowledge this and respect it. After the lock mentions here, once I do hit that buffer, the pro floor locks at 25K plus a 1,500 buffer, and it doesn't continue rising. So I'll have that floor locked in. And then, so here's the analysis and all that good stuff. I was at this fixed set 9.7, and it's putting me now here at this ladder or scaling in at 13.1% blow up risk while still maximizing the pass. And some other numbers here. Did show the distribution here, and then the number of days, 6 to 8. It's saying I could have a number of losing days on this plan. So that's the plan I'm sticking with on this moving forward. So we had news this morning. You see here on ES. On the news at 6:30. Looks like we hit this area back here, tested it, and popped off that news, but we might be seeing a pullback now on the previous day overnight high. I see some absorbed buyers up here at that overnight high, so we might get another chance to get into this. We'll see what Joy has to say. Let's give Joy the news. I haven't built out the news for Joy yet. Where's the news here? Usually it's red. 6:30. Where is it? Dun, 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 dun. 6:42, 6:30. Canadian. Not concerned about Canadian. Oh, it's got all its graphics now. Okay. Let's see if I can get these reports out from Financial Juice. Oh my God, I'm not doing that paper copy over. Let's see if I can drop these in for Joy. Actually, what I could do is I can come here. Let's refresh this. Okay, Wednesday, and we get the numbers here. Actually, let's highlight the columns here so Joy knows what those are. For ES and NQ. I'm attaching screenshot of the news from this morning that was about 40 minutes ago. Please include that in your assessment of the pre-market plan this morning. And let me see where that's at. Oh, if I have a... Let me quickly cover this up here. As I bring in my screenshots. Okay. Let's send this over to Joy. See if she can read those screenshots. She should be able to read those. And as she digests that, I'm going to take a look at ES on the 1000 volume bar. Wow. So there's a lot of absorbed buyers here up at this level here on the 1000 bar at the previous high day. And we're seeing that again here too at the overnight high from the previous day. Okay. How about NQ? Is there a similar story here? Little different story. Interesting. NQ. We had some buyer absorption up here at the overnight highs from July 13th to July 15th, but we see it is looking like the weaker instrument out of the two. Continue to absorb buyers here. Okay, interesting. And then if I look at the other instruments like the Dow, looks like it's coming back down into that overnight range and that previous opening range high from yesterday. Oil, crude oil, it's ranging for sure. Okay. See, bring up my screen marker here so I can highlight things as we go. Okay, Joey's got her plan together. Okay, security funded account yesterday. Congratulations, today's the first day of business as usual. PPI news hit. Yeah, I did load up my journal from yesterday, so she's aware of my trades from yesterday. So it's kind of nice about Joy, my AI trading bot, is that she's aware of my trades and will incorporate that thought process into the next day's pre-market plan. So has contextual awareness of my trading, which is really nice. Overnight session has been active due to the PPI release, but cumulative volume is actually below recent averages for this time of day. Interesting. Which is, yeah, look at that. Cumulative volume actually is low on ES and NQ, which puts it as a demolition derby. In my 3 groupings of volume. I look at demolition derby if it's below the 14-day look back period, street race if it's at the normal volume levels according to the 14-day look back period, and then Formula One if it's like plus 10 above that 14-day look back period. And which means like a demolition derby, you're pretty much not leaving runners. Formula One race, you are leaving runners. Demolition derby is more of a scalping scenario. And then the ATR. Yeah, okay, so we're on point here, and gather her key levels here. Overnight high 61, 615. Okay. ETH from the prior day and RTH 7597. What is ES? That actually looks off. 7597. Prior day. Oh, it's value area high. Okay. Where's she knows the ETH. Okay. Well, ETH, yeah, that's correct. And then the RTH value area high. That is correct as well. Okay. Let's go in here and see her analysis. ES support zone 7578 to 7582. Seller absorption at yesterday's value area low. Okay, which is a bit below the overnight low from the overnight session. NQ. She's saying 29,740, 29,760. Kind of similar. Overnight low from today. The value area low. And then resistance zone on NQ 29890. I think we saw 29890. Okay, so we're actually, she's finding this as potential area of resistance. Aggressive buyers were met with supply late yesterday. Is that true? Let's see. I mean, I guess we did see some imbalances here. And again here. And price pushed down. Okay, we'll see how that plays out for the plan here. Gap analysis, ES, small gap, ES, large gap, high risk of gap and go, or a massive mean reversion move toward the previous day value area high, which is at 29868. Structural read, price versus VWAP, trending above overnight VWAP. Today's POC versus yesterday, we are migrating higher, and the 5-day is also migrating higher as well. Bias, we are bullish to neutral. Price is comfortably above the previous day POC. Yep, we see that here on ES. You can see here, price. And probably have something similar on NQ. Yeah, similar on NQ. We have this. Directional bias favor longs on dips that show seller absorption. NQ, LVN to watch. Massive LVN gap between 29814. 814. Right at this -2 VWAP. And 800. Okay, well that, I mean, there's a lot of key levels here too, right? We got the previous day close, the previous day POC. So this area from 29,785 to 29,810 is apparently an LVN to watch. Price will accelerate if it enters this zone. It doesn't mean accelerate through it, just means it'll accelerate. It could accelerate by just touching and go out of that zone, or could cut through it. I'm actually kind of curious on the RTH what that looks like. Not really seeing that as much on the Okay, scenarios, NQ focus. I should give me my ES focus. Where's ES? Previous day. Okay, we can ask for the ES and we can go through this here. I see you have scenarios for NQ. Can you please also give me the scenarios for ES? Okay, thank you. Short at previous day high, overnight high zone 7613.75. It's back tested as a valid short. Let's add this in here on the chart alerts. 1-3. Okay, I'm gonna front run that by a point. We see we've already seen resistance up at this level here. I like the star on there so I know it's back tested. Okay, I don't know what I did there. Okay, I copied too much. Testing liquidity above the PPI spike extremes for a failed breakout fade. We also have the short at prior day POC 7590. Interesting. So shorting down here, which I would think could also be potentially for a long, I would think as well, right? I'll put that a little bit below it. I want to see it wick down below and see what happens. So we'll mark that as a short. I would think that could be a long. And she's got a long at the prior day value area low. I feel like we could want to watch that potentially even at the overnight low. So I'll mark it above the overnight low. Just keep an eye on that level. Save that. And then short at prior day value area high. I don't know if I like that one as much, to be honest. Because we have the previous day point of control right below that and the opening 60-minute opening range high. And it's really close then to where she is saying to go short on the POC. So this feels a bit confusing to me, especially if I look at this line. Like if you look at this line here at the value area high. Actually, let me get that a little bit bigger here. Get this value area high here. Maybe I should retain this here. And you saw we tested this yesterday, resistance, and then we had support in the overnight, support, support again, support again. We had a dip below, but it got above that again. So it really makes me wonder if this value area high could be a real good area for going long. Let's talk to Joy about that. I have one item of pushback on the ES scenarios. You mentioned short at prior day value area high. This seems a bit odd to me because it's only 6 points above the previous day POC and maybe 8 points above the previous day 60-minute opening range high. And I observed that we had a lot of support in the afternoon at that POC level in the second half of the session at 7590. And it makes me wonder if a dip down to the previous value area high is not a valid play for a long. I ask that because I see it tested this area in the afternoon session and found resistance, and then it found support. It looks like 5 times now in the overnight session at 7596. So would we consider this actually a potential area to go long at 7596, the value area high down to the previous day pocket 7590? Did she capture all that? Did she not capture that? Seriously. Oh no. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me try that again. I want to ask about one area I want to push back, which is that short at the prior day value area high. I see 7596 was tested yesterday in the second half of the session and found resistance. And now in the overnight session, we've found support at that level 5 different times. Would we want to consider a long at this area? Additionally, going short here doesn't leave us much runway because to the downside, we have the previous day pocket 7590 and the opening range high on the 60-minute period for ES, which seems like there's not going to be much meat on the bone for going short at this level. And the better play would be to look at going short if we fall under that level, which you have as scenario 2. Okay, market opens in 5 minutes. Okay, sharp structural read. I'll take that pushback. Looking at the overnight data, you are correct. 7597 prior day value high has transitioned from yesterday's RTH resistance into clear overnight support if buyers were defending that line while price holds above 7590. Previous day POC. The story is one of value migration higher, not failed reclaim. You also write about the meat on the bone with 60-minute opening range high at 7588 and previous day POC at 7590, sitting just below a short, is a high probability for a paper cut, a trade that gets squeezed because it's crowded by nearby support. Let's adjust the plan. Kill ES scenario 4, add long at previous day value area high, keep ES short at previous day POC. Updating scenarios. She's edited these apparently, so let's see what she's got here. Let's make you. Did she adjust this? Hey, she did. Cool. Thank you, Joy. Let's add this in here. And we'll add that as a potential long. And it's kind of like a Joy. She gives me some sanity checks. And I think AI on any type of application is good for working together as a peer, which is working pretty well on this as well for me. Okay, so I'm improving these. Joy is going to start recording my audio so that these are now captured. When I import my trades, the journals get automatically journaled. I'll have to show that today too. Okay, market opens in less than 2 minutes. We got 90 seconds to open. Manage your risk, everybody. Preserve mental and financial capital. If you have a winning strategy, expect to be able to weather multiple red scenarios to be profitable over the long term. I'm going to put my, yeah, this is perfect right here. This is what I want, 7596, and put my entry here at this zone. Stop buffer, I'm going to do 8 on this. I'm going to enter my stop loss and profit target, 7590. Profit target on this, if we come down here, would be probably VWAP. I'll put this at 98 to front run that a bit. Okay, see what we got. Do have 5 accounts total, 1 funded and 4 eval. So that's why I got my value of 5 up here. And actually this has to be 5 as well then, doesn't it? For 1 contract. Or it might get a pop into overnight high here. Bro, 0 prints out of the gates. Got an exhaustion print up top here. Clear out this here. See how this plays out. I could have taken this short, I guess. Just not feeling like I want to get on this on the first minute, like 30 seconds. Just not really my style. I want things to get a little situated here first, even though this is actually scenario that's back tested for a short here. Do I take this potentially? I'll look at this, what this could be. Yes. Oh no, for some reason. Okay, for some reason my volumetric, my risk manager needs to be refreshed here. Structure, key levels. Refresh the chart here to get that risk manager hook active. Looks like it's still not quite working. Try one more time here. We're coming up here to that test again on the overnight high. This might be going. Okay, for some reason, things are just not working this morning on the key levels. I do have key levels installed. The zone's working. Structure's working. It's working, but it's like showing the wrong direction. Okay, well, look at that. I'm not sure why this stopped working. Curious what happens if I hit this. Okay. So it's finding the right levels. It's just not quite showing them in the proper short or long scenario. We got some really strong buying here on the volumetric chart. And it's solid green on the cumulative delta indicator. Interesting. ES is climbing up, but NQ is not quite as strong out of the gate. The Dow is. Actually looked at wick down and found some support. Yeah, see what happens here. Might have a situation where we need to adjust our scenarios. We're not going to get the shorts we were looking for. That dip down before going back up. It's just going to pop right up. Our next level here is the high day from July 10th, it looks like. Last week, Friday. Up at 7627. Do have a supply zone up here at 7627. And have the value area high from July 10th as well, that Friday at 7626. And we got the July 10th POC at 7623. And I am observing more absorbed buyers are showing up there for a moment. But we've had pretty strong buying here, right? We've got these strong buying imbalance out of the gate, and price climbed up. It looks like it might be forming a B shape footprint here. Okay, what happened there? Oh, good Lord. Okay, that's not cool. Okay, apparently having some difficulties navigating everything this morning here. Good Lord. These are my... Okay, let's get back to this. I got some absorbed sellers shown here, 59.92. And we've cleared some key levels here, though. So it is interesting. I'm not looking for anything right now. This is kind of new territory. I'm wondering if we're even looking at potential to test this level here, where we had these strong buyers and that overnight high, the value area low for long potentially. Just recalibrating my read on this now. I'm going to ask Joy what she thinks, because this is, it's going straight up to that July 10th high day at 7627 in the supply, and that Friday value area high. See a lot of yellow dots here, which means you have larger participants stepping in this whole time. Actually, they've been stepping in. Yeah, let's ask Joe what she thinks here. Hey, Joey, the market's been open for less than 10 minutes, but we've already cleared the overnight high and are looking to test the high day from July 10th. Can you give me a fresh read on today's scenarios? Get a sanity check here. I mean, I would like to see this kind of exhaustion at the overnight high. I don't want to see that after clearing it. Okay, what is she telling us here? She's telling us markets transitioned into a gap and go profile, clearing the overnight high with significant momentum in the first 10. Fundamental bias is bullish. We are currently in a demolition derby still. Conditions of both instruments are not really need to be for ATR. Be wary of a blow-off top followed by a deep mean reversion move, especially with Fed Chairman Walsh scheduled to testify at 8 Mountain, 10 Eastern. It kind of looks like it might have had a blow-off here. See the velocity picked up here into that supply. And we had some strong seller imbalance zone established here. We got 1,000 plus absorbed buyers up here as well. So it makes me wonder if we want to do a potential short here at the POC. Fresh read. Scenario update. Yeah, short July 10th. High rejection. 7628. Okay. I'll front run that by a smidge and see. That is a potential option. NQ scenario, short July 10th, high sweep, 30.0775. I mean, looks like NQ is already dropping down to the value area high from the previous day. And this might not have another chance for retracement to get that short. Combo check. Wait for the footprints. Hey Joy, so what about the previous scenario, such as the short at the previous day high, scenario 1? Is that still valid, or are we invalidating those now? Or would that potentially be a opportunity to go long? What are your thoughts on the previous scenarios we had? Those levels are not strictly invalidated, but their directional priority and context have changed. How to think about the original scenarios versus the current reality. Original thesis, rejection at yesterday's ceiling. Current reality, price sliced through those levels. At least on ES, I see NQ is actually at the area where I would want to be trading actually for a long. I don't really trade NQ. But it's at levels where I find it interesting to go long. Okay, let's see here. Verdict to short thesis for specific prices is dead. Now, if you try to short 7613, now you are stepping in front of a train that has already cleared the station. Opportunity, these levels now transition into support. In a trading market, you look for old resistance becomes new support. If price dips back to 7613 and shows seller absorption, that is your high probability long entry. Let's see here. It's kind of fading these areas, to be honest. I think there's a little bit tougher to read. Part of the entry here was output the supply from July 10th, but we never had a retracement for testing that. And I think I would still be interested in taking that short if we retrace up to this level in that Friday POC before we hit VWAP, which is down here at this stacked buyer volume imbalance zone. I would treat the July 10th highs as critical invalidation zone. If the price rejects there with heavy buyer absorption, the original fading and the extension mindset it returns, which is kind of where we're at now. Yeah, she's calling this out as well. Shorting here is too close to VWAP, so there's not much meat on the bone to even go short unless it's going to be a scalp. So we're looking for a potential long defense here. I mean, the Dow has got a pretty big wick to the upside and downside. See, oil is back in its range, hasn't really left it. And NQ has hit that 50-day simple moving average. Fallen below the previous high day. And is now kind of finding support, these previous areas of support in the overnight session. If you look at ES, kind of finding similar where these wicks to the upside in the 10-minute are now potentially providing support at that overnight high. Wait for, get a little velocity pickup there. Putting stops pre-calculated here. See if we can find anything on the VWAP touch here. Mm-hmm. 7623. Okay, so if I see order flow indicating absorbed sellers here or strong buying at VWAP, I'll be interested in taking this as a potential long. See, we're coming down to these lows here before the market opens. Got a 41.8% delta of sellers. That's a good sign. And we got a mix of buyers and sellers here. What do we have on volumetrics? See, there's a delta here of sellers that's getting pushed lower here, but might be forming a B footprint here. Let's see. Got a yellow dot here, so some larger participants stepping in here. And we're coming down to the previous high day at 7603. If we can see some order flow indications of buyers stepping in and trapping sellers and getting above VWAP, I'd be interested in taking this to the upside. Nothing as of yet. I do see a buyer delta here at the full session POC. More buyer deltas here at the POC below VWAP with some potential buyer absorption happening. So watch this. This could be indication that we got some buyers getting trapped here at 7607. See some strong buyer imbalances here. See if they can carry this above VWAP. If not, we might be seeing a leg, another leg to the downside. See, NQ is continuing dropping down to the previous day POC. Okay, what do we got here? See some buying happen here. Again, testing that full session POC. They really struggle busing here. And we saw that strong green cumulative delta now is turning red on the 5-minute and 15-minute and is at a insignificant level of like plus 800 on the RTH session. Okay, we tapped the previous high day at 7603 on ES. And we're tapping the previous day close and POC on NQ. We got for NQ in the volumetric chart. We had some seller absorption here, but not strong enough signal to get in on this yet. They're trying. We got Warsh testifying today. Looks like it's not happening now till this afternoon. Okay, this is falling through that high day. NQ is kind of hanging by a thread here at the previous day POC and close. ES is continuing to bleed to the downside. We see same for the Dow, although it's not as severe as the other two instruments. Oh, got some absorbed sellers here. Okay, we got yellow dots here. We got some buyer delta 346, some seller absorption. We had some strong buying absorption at VWAP with 3 buyer deltas trapped at the full session POC, and we're forming some potentially strength from buyers that may be getting stuffed again here. We had this pop at 6:30 though off of news, 8:30 Eastern time. Are we doing a full retracement on that? I wouldn't want to get into this until we clear VWAP in that POC with these strong buying delta at VWAP. Like these early signals are for going long here, but there's some more structural read here of potential buyers getting trapped. Look at that. We had a stacked buying volume imbalance zone here, and we had VWAP with some more buying absorption. See that here as well. Stacked buying volume imbalance on the 1000 volume, 42% blue. That means buyers are really trying but getting stuffed. We have a yellow dot here, which means larger participants are driving that movement. This feels like a short here, to be honest. But I don't really plan here, but it feels like it could be a short off of the VWAP. It's looking not good for buyers here. They're trying but getting stuffed. It's looking particularly ugly on the footprint on the volumetric 20 tick range. We had a B footprint here as well, though, below that. So I'm not enthusiastic about getting into a trade that wasn't part of the pre-market plan, despite seeing some really strong order flow. But I just don't have, I think, contextual awareness about where I want to take this if it does go to the downside. I think we have a lot of structural support potentially at 7697. So there's what, maybe 7 points of meat on bones here. If there's a lot of key levels of congestion here that could potentially stop any run to the downside in a meaningful way. So if it would take anything, it would have to be a scalp. But if buyers can clear the VWAP here and hold this, look at all this delta here. Now there's like 3 different levels in the full session volume profile, and we're clearing and clearing it again. There we go. Okay, we got to test down to VWAP. I would be open to taking that long. Because of the strong delta. Look at these 5 buyer delta here at VWAP after getting some buyer absorption on this footprint below here. If we get down to 7508 on a retest, and we continue to see strong buyers, I'd be interested in taking that long to the value area high, 7621. Potential pullback here. Oh, there we go. That's, what is that about? We got 5 minutes until the top of the hour. Sometimes you see some movement at the top of the hour. Look at this. 5 different buyer deltas on the full session volume profile. Like those should act as support at VWAP and POC. for full session volume profile on the current day. Okay, here's coming down with the potential test here. Didn't really see what I want to see here. Some order flow signal about going long here. Just we have this strong buying delta on the volume profile. And we're like a couple minutes before the top of the hour too, which makes me a little nervous because sometimes you get these little velocity pops at the top of the hour, especially with Warsh scheduled to testify. Although on here it shows not until the market closes today. So who's right? Forex Factory says he's talking in a few minutes. And we see here that we have reserve chair Warsh has got a hearing. So I think that's going to be on. I'd rather not be in a trade when he starts speaking. And flat is still a position. So flat right now, I have not taken a single trade yet. What is this? What the hell is this? Iran called a while ago. They want to make a deal. Really? Really? Trump? They want to make a deal? Let's make a deal with Iran. My fatigue of Trump news on Iran is real. Okay, we've got some seller absorption here. Looks like they're holding here. But again, we got Orsh scheduled to testify in 2 minutes. I don't think that things ever even start right on time or not, but oh, and now they took that off. Like, apparently that's an error. They took that off. Not a real headline. I got the live chat on as well. If anybody doesn't use this on financialjuice.com, it's a free feed, and that does seem like it front runs anything that's printed here in the browser by 10 to 30 seconds. So I have that in my ear as well while trading this morning. Okay, we got some stacked buyer imbalance at the overnight high. So what is this going to be my the original play for going short here? This was the original pre-market plan. But I think given all the movement we've seen here, it's not really worthwhile anymore to consider this a trade. That's what Joy said, at least, that support turns into resistance. But now, I mean, resistance turns into support, but now resistance turned to support and turned into resistance again. And we got a 500 plus, a 500 seller delta on the volume profile in the RTH session. I got cleared out. See some strong selling happening here at this level. That's showing up again here. 500 sellers on the volume profile at this level, 7613. So they might be getting trapped there. Okay, 8 o'clock, and there's our little pop on the 8 o'clock top of the hour. Okay, I'm going to be honest here. I'm rather confused about what to do here. I'm not seeing anything clear, to be honest. Okay, Joy, we've fallen below the overnight high and VWAP, and now recovered VWAP and found some resistance at overnight high, but now we might be clearing it. Any read on this? I'm finding this a bit difficult to read, to be honest. Close the dome. Okay. Difficult to read because we're in a high impact news window. Worst testimony starts right now. What the data shows, the coupled volatility spikes. We just saw a significant surge in volume and speed as the clock hit 8 a.m. ES jumped 6 points in 40 seconds. Whipsaw on NQ. Street race conditions. Moving out of demo derby into street race. Yes, the volume is picking up. Difficult to read, explain. You're seeing price clear the overnight high, but then lose momentum. This is exactly what the headline roulette looks like. Break and hold versus sweep. If price clears overnight high and holds above it for a full 5-minute candle, it's a breakout. We aren't doing that yet. We are peaking above and then being swatted back below. That's going back above again, though. But again, we're seeing these yellow dots here, which shows there might be larger participants stepping in. Plus, we're entering into a new supply zone here. You look at this. We had a supply zone and stacked seller imbalance at the July 10th POC and the +2 VWAP. A lot of reasons to go short here, to be honest. A lot of levels that could potentially serve as a where to go short if we see the correlating what around the order flow. But I'm also of the mindset that first test is best, and we've kind of gone through and moved in both directions here, so I feel unenthusiastic about any setup right now. If price clears overnight high and holds above full 5-minute, VWAP confusing the price falling below and then reclaiming VWAP in a matter of minutes during news usually indicates a lack of institutional conviction. Big money is waiting for a specific phrase from March before committing to a direction. Structural decision. ES resistance. The July 10th high is the only level that matters to the upside, which is 7627. She has 7628. Any action between here and 28 is a no man's land squeeze. NQ resistance. The July 10th high is the magnet. We are quite a ways below that. Yeah, it's way up here. I feel like NQ is a better instrument to play potentially. Just it has more runway for it to go somewhere. Although, let me bring up my. Is this open here? It's open. Not working though. Let me close this out really quick. For whatever reason, it's not working. End task. Okay, try this again. Get my pen marker out. Okay. You see in NQ, we have overlapping value area, which typically means choppy conditions. And you see in the volume profile indicator, it shows balance. On ES, we have a similar story here. ES is interesting because we actually are above the previous day volume profile. We've cleared that. Right, and look at our line here. For the value area high from previous day. Sorry, this line here. Compared to today. So we're establishing value higher. think the challenge is now that we have NQ weighing us down. It's failing the previous value area high in the 50-day simple moving average right now. And the Dow is rather non-directional as well. A lot of wicks to both sides. You got wicks up here. And here we got more wick, more wicks, more wicks, more wicks, all these like shadows here. So the Dow is pretty much doing nothing that I think is helpful for any type of directional move to enter a setup. And ES is, it could find, you would think it'd find support here, but right now, like these areas where it was finding support previously seem to be acting as resistance here potentially. I don't know. It's trying to climb above that right now. So it's a tough read. ES is only the strongest out of the three instruments, where it's going up to this July 10th high day. If we look at chart here, what happened on July 10th? What was going on here? I mean, there's a lot of, it closed a period high, but that was actually in the after hours session. Just kind of came up here. Yeah, not really. Just honestly not a fan of this. Any of this. I don't want to force a trade if I'm not feeling it. We are seeing potential buyer absorption happening here in this footprint. This could be a decent play, taking the long off of this full session POC and the large buyer delta here. But you're running into then these overnight highs and then the supply above here. I'd rather enter in on a scenario that I feel more confident in right now. Not digging any of these scenarios. Okay, coaching advice from Joy. Stop trading for 15 minutes. I might just actually do that. Might let this shake out, and maybe this is a scenario we want to look at entering once the 60-minute period solidifies. I might actually do that. I'm gonna put a pause on things and come back here in a few minutes. I'll come back 10 minutes before the 60-minute window, or if I get a chart alert here that says we've hit this high day. I'm going to take this alert off because that is not valid anymore. Okay, I will be back probably in about 10 minutes or so. Actually leave the charts here so people can look at that. I'll find a way to put some like standby music or something. I'm not sure to do that, but at least leave the charts for everybody to look at if they want to look at the charts. Okay, back here. So we might have tested that high in the session in the supply, gotten above that POC, and found some resistance. A lot of yellow dots here. Larger institutions stepping in here. And now looks like we've got this line in the sand here potentially at 7616. Do see we had absorbed sellers here, and that footprint bar, well, I mentioned bar about two bars ago, at the full session value area high. Wow, a lot of delta here. More delta of sellers here on the volume profile. Which could indicate that sellers are stepping in here and going to push price back down to VWAP. But if they get trapped here, see there's a a buyer up here. Oh, wow. That look at a little flush to the downside here. Look at got this on here, 346 absorbed sellers. Not really at a key level. I just got this, I guess, section here that we peeked our heads down below. NQ, well, NQ is just dropping off, huh? It's like the Dow is retreating. Not too strongly. It might be finding support here still. And now my chart just froze. What is going on here? Okay, I didn't show you. I never restarted it today, so maybe I just need to restart this. Oh, no, it's going. Here we go. Okay, cut through that. We got more strong selling to the downside. And then met by a potential buying imbalance that got stuffed to the downside. Now, it's a little tough market to read. NQ is dropping off pretty heavily. It almost feels like some news came out here, the way it's dropping. I don't see any news or hear any news. There's VWAP in our value area low. We had all these passive buyers here before at the full session POC. Okay, we are cutting down pretty heavily. Is Warsh making comments here? It sounds like Warsh might be making comments that might be moving markets around right now. Yeah, I'm not sure what he's saying exactly. I don't see any news here exactly, but I heard on the feed. Okay, Fed Chair Walsh. Why would that push things down? I think a new leader should tap the best minds they can find. What was the question in regards to? Okay, well, something he said didn't sit well, and we're at the full session POC with strong buyers on the volume profile delta. Coming down to this area, we previously saw some buyers. Kind of seeing the same pattern here with yellow dots, the buyer delta bubble on that bar, absorbed sellers. But you isn't getting long here potentially because this looks like the same pattern as before. If we can get some buying here and stuff sellers, it'd be interesting to take this long again at the same level we saw before at the previous high day. But with Warsh speaking, it's hard to say. We had about 4 minutes until the full 60-minute session is put in its full session period. Warsh, my view is that these inflation data are imperfect measures. Get two absorbed sellers. I'm going to put on one here. Okay, what happened here? Done? Did it work? Okay, and we want here 703. Get out at the 17 area. Bit of a risk here, but I'm expecting the same pattern as before. 7603. And getting out at this area here, we saw some resistance. Okay, apparently that's... I'll have to find a way to stop that from happening. It's a bit distracting. Okay, so we're in long for one. Not significant, but I'm just kind of betting on the same pattern here we saw before at the previous high day at 7603, where we saw absorbed sellers. We had a buyer delta. We had these yellow dots showing institutions stepping in. We're seeing that again here with absorbed sellers. We have a buyer delta, and we have yellow dots showing institutions stepping in. And additionally, we have this buyer delta at the full session POC. There's 3 different levels here where we see there's a buyer strong delta showing they're here. Oh, look at this, we got strong buy-in here as well. Oh, I guess I'm out. Okay, so got the first win. Given that Warsh is talking, I don't feel like leaving runners. I might actually top tick that. How often does that actually happen? We top tick a trade. Get 1 minute to the top of the full 60 minutes. We get 10 seconds till oil news comes out. Okay, we have the 60-minute opening session is now under our belt. Okay, it's Taco Joy. Okay, Joy, we get the first hour of the RTA session under our belt. I did take one long down at 7604, testing the previous high day. I saw previously we had absorbed sellers with a buyer delta on one of the 1000 volume bars with yellow dots showing the institutional buyers were stepping in because there is a lower number of contracts transacted for the 1000 orders put in. Or actually opposite of that, we saw a smaller number of orders put in for the 1000 contracts put in. So it shows that there's a larger institutional player stepping in there with less contracts for the 1000 volume count on the bar. Took that long to the overnight high 7615 and got out. I see Warsh is still speaking. What's your take on price action today? It's feeling like we might be nibbling at the edges now at this point. Excellent execution and along. Let's break down that trade in the current state. Well, I have a spot on identified passive buy absorption. Zone logic called old resistance, becoming new support, transition, played street race target, 10 points perfectly. Warsh is still speaking. The market has settled into a wait and see posture. We're currently stuck in a narrow funnel. Compression. ES is pinned between overnight high and the July 10th high, 7628. We're actually coming below that as well. Look at this here. NQ is looking pretty heavy over here. It's testing that opening range low. Okay, race update is kind of tapered off. We are nibbling at the edges. Market's testing upper extremity, but lacks the Formula One volume needed to actually break out into the blue sky. Bullish case, we're holding above the 60-minute opening range. Wait. We are holding above the 60-minute opening range high, 7622. What are you talking about? Okay, that's not true. Have her check her read here. Are you playing with the most recent data in the database? Because we are not holding near the ES 7622.75 opening range high. And see, the opening range high is actually 7626.25. It's moving back up off of VWAP. I saw there's some absorbed sellers here. Okay, 72 current high. We're not holding out near, or in fact, we just saw significant rejection. We're currently trading below that. Price attempt to clear it failed. Failed breakout. Inside range. NQ is leading lower. True. Nibbling warning, you were right to be suspicious. This isn't a nibbling at the edges. It's of a breakout. This is a market losing its news-driven propellant. Directional shift. The story has transitioned from a bullish momentum to a failed breakout range rotation. Current bias. Since we are below the 60-minute opening range high and dropping, the momentum favors to a trip back toward the RTH POC, which, yeah, we're doing that right now. Yeah, it's pretty much ranging. And it's interesting. We look at, look at this here on the RTH. I mean, it's kind of a D shape here. We do have this LVN here below VWAP, which was a great opportunity, I guess, to go long if we're into scalping the edges here, which I guess in this case we are scalping the value area low to the value area high potentially. But we have this additional resistance of supply right here. And then we have some seller in delta here on the volume profile, and then a buyer delta that got stuffed at the value area high. So honestly, these are pretty, I think, challenging conditions to play. And if I look at NQ, that's gross. We've made some nice, I guess, lower highs and lower lows here. We had seller absorption, seller absorption, seller absorption, some buyer absorption into this demand zone, which formed our opening range low at 29640. And we're looking to retest that again after failing today's overnight low. Interesting thing about, I think, NQ is that we are seeing an overlap of the value area from yesterday and today. And the point of control as well is overlapping almost exactly between the two. Look at this, the POC between the two of these. They're pretty much aligned, right? So it's going to be probably tough for us to break out of here unless we have some kind of meaningful snap, which right now looks like it might be to the downside if it's going to snap either direction. But you can see on NQ, we got the opening range right here, which we're almost right into. And now we're testing the top of the previous day range in the overnight session. If I look at NQ on the volumetric chart, I got this set up to 80 ticks. Range with a, whoa, which did a nasty zero print here as we plunged below the opening range low at 29639. That could be possibly a good entry to retest the opening range low and fail and take that to the downside. We do have demand here, and if it was the test and failed the opening range low at 29639, we could see potential move down to the previous low day down at 29657. I'm not seeing much resistance here that would prevent that from happening. If I look at the chart here, yeah, it looks like it's pretty thin on this side here if it does break down to this previous low day. And then from there, I guess it could break down to the Monday POC at 29500. On ES, this is kind of ugly, to be honest with you. We're at this value area. Like we rejected again here at the POC. Okay, interesting. That Joy said, stay cautious here. The NQ weakness suggests ES may have more room to fall. So that's interesting, right? We got all the seller delta here on the RTH volume profile, putting us below the POC. And we had this supply here that we failed to clear for the July 10th high day at 7627. That could put the opening range low, I think, in play. And if that happens, we might see then at least a test to the value area high from the previous day, 7596. I think interesting scenario would be if we see ES come back up to VWAP. Up here, VWAP. And maybe more particularly by this seller imbalance where we had the stacked selling zone. Because we got seller buyers getting trapped here, it looks like potentially in the VWAP on the volume profile. That happens before we test the low day from the previous day on NQ. We could see an opportunity to go short on ES. The thing I don't like about this is you're shorting off of VWAP, which I feel like at this point VWAP is kind of cut through. It's cut through. Then it served as support, and then it didn't, and we cut through that again. So I feel like it's a bit of a gamble to think it's going to somehow act as support now at VWAP. Whereas the more realistic structural read, not structural, but the order flow read would be we see 7612 to 7613 be a potential area of resistance. But my problem with that is that structurally, the real stop should be above POC in the supply, where it's failed twice before. So taking a short here, it feels like you're not leaving yourself a good place for a stop loss. Because you'd have to have all of this accounted for just to hit a breakout opening range low and potentially hit this here down to the value area high from the previous day. I guess we got absorbed buyers here. It's minor though, 100. C400 absorbed buyers on the volumetric chart. I didn't catch this. We had 1,000 absorbed sellers here on the volumetric chart when I got in. Was that when I got in this? Yeah, when I got in this. So that was a great play. I didn't notice that 1,000 volumetric chart showing absorbed sellers there. So yeah, that's a great entry. I guess that was more aggregate of what we saw down here. Okay, so we've broken the low day on, or the previous low day on NQ. Okay, well, we're coming up to this pocket on the full session where we had these strong buyers that supported price previous, but are failing to appear now on this current leg to the downside. And for me, looking at ES, we had this original long scenario at the level I called out this morning at the previous valley area high. That still looks a bit appealing to me because we see a demand zone down here. We see the -2 VWAP here as well. So there's a confluence of signals, not signals, but a confluence of interesting key levels and other points of data that show we could potentially find support down there. I think the challenge is, would NQ join us? And that's a bit of a harder story. I guess you could say NQ might join us if it finds support at that Monday POC at 29,500. Which is close to that Monday opening range low. Right now we are holding that previous day low and that pre-market low on NQ. Before we get in here, I think this would be kind of this price level right here, 2956. Let's see what Joy has to say about this. Okay, Joy, let's get a read now that we're an hour and 15 minutes into the RTH session. You'll observe that price on ES is below the value area low and below VWAP, and we have played with price levels outside of the opening range low at 7601.25. I still find we have our pre-market plan level at 7596.5. For the previous day value area high, I observed that this aligns with a demand zone down there and the -2 VWAP. I also see a 800 plus buyer delta on the RTH volume profile. We did see support here, as we noted in the pre-market plan, 5 different times. What would we want to see to get long here? And I'm thinking of, do we need to see a correlation on NQ to make sure it's not weighing down ES? Levels of interest on NQ, I observe, is that we have tested and held so far the previous low a day down at 29567, which is also the opening range low. And that was also a range that was being held in the pre-market on Tuesday, July 14th. The next level to the downside might be the previous day, actually the Monday POC on NQ down at 29500. Can you give me a read on potential opportunities here? I feel like we might see an opportunity for a long based on our pre-market plan after all of this churn in the opening hour. Okay, structural alignment you're describing exactly the type of zonal story we are looking for. I've never heard me use the phrase zonal story before. Okay, here we are. You've identified a confluence of 5 technical and order flow anchors: prior day value area high, overnight support floor, institutional demand, 800 plus buyer delta, Monday's demand base, and a 2 standard deviation VWAP mean reversion stretch. The ES setup, the what. And again, like when I talk about the what, I look at trades from the perspective of who, what, where, when, why, and how. The who, like we never really know the who is getting in, besides maybe these yellow dots showing there's larger institutional interest because of fewer number of orders put in relation to the number of contracts. But the who is really me or you. The what is going to be order flow signals. The where is price. And then the why is kind of the hypothesis around all of those. And the how is the risk management. And then the when, of course, is I'm trying to play within the opening hour, hour and a half. Okay, so pull the trigger, the what? Pull the trigger along here. We need the footprint to confirm that the sellers have exhausted themselves against the passive institutional wall. Signal 1, seller absorption, yes. But price refuses to tick lower. Delta reversal. After absorption, we need a 1 minute candle, a strong positive delta. Buyer imbalance, yes. The check, look for those yellow dots again if they appear while NQ is stabilizing. The correlation factor is higher. The NQ correlation, the weighted anchor, you're right to be wary of NQ. It has been the significantly weaker instrument this morning. NQ has traveled 83% of its daily ATR, while ES is only 54%. If NQ holds that opening range low, previous lower, finds the Monday POC demand at 29,500, starts its flag sideways, it gives ES the permission to bounce off its value area high support. This is the opportunity to go long from our morning discussion that we initially debated. Race type change. We are now in a street race conditions. Volume is about 10%. Plus above the 14-day. Oh, she's looking at the 5-day. That's why it looks a bit off sometimes. Okay. This means we have the liquidity to support a 10 to 15 point move. Target from 7597. The first is the previous day. What? Previous day POC. Where's she going? Getting that from? 7605. She went today's POC. Where are you getting the target to go long? The previous day POC from July 14th is 7590. I see you're citing the previous day POC at 7605. Is that true? Okay. I was misreading temporary developing POC. Yeah, that's what I thought she's looking. She's looking at the temporary POC. Okay. From the full session. Okay. The meat and bone calculation. Long for 7. Your target cannot be the very big. Yes. Any bullish mean reversion trade. 7-9-year targets are the overhead RTH anchors from this morning. The value area high, which is, yeah, 7. She has 7601, 7610 for VWAP, and overnight high 7615. Although I'd say the 1.5 has been negated at this point. The median move for shorts because POC is below. There's actually room for a 6-point rotation lower if 7597 fails. It makes a short at this scenario that we killed earlier actually viable again as a failed reclaim play if the absorption shifts to the sell side. Squeebs can do high volume anchors. If you're looking to go long, your story is that the price is holding above yesterday's value area and moved back into RTH session high. If we lose 7597, we are rotating back to that 7590. Okay, well, it's nearing my levels to see what happens here. We have the 800 plus buyer delta down here at 7595. Looks like NQ has been trying to find support here. Had one wick down in here to that July 14th low a day. But is not reclaimed the opening range low yet. And we're looking a bit heavy on the volumetric chart. We absorb buyers at VWAP, absorbed again. We get this big buyer delta here on the volume profile. I think if we can find absorbed sellers down here in this demand zone at the -2 VWAP. It actually aligns with the full session value area high, which is interesting. We're kind of holding that right now, to be honest. What I'm looking for is the RTH test where it can come down here, hit this, and then we can bounce back up to probably I didn't see anybody step in here, but this 7607 might be the first profit target or VWAP. If it claims that, then we can probably get up to the current day POC. Some absorbed sellers here, but nothing that I think is going to compel me to get in yet. I'm seeing that here as well. As we get to testing the full session value area low, I'm not going to force a trade here. I'm up on the day. I guess when you look at the the 5 accounts I'm playing with now, the 1 funded and 4 evals, up $40 each on one, so $200 for the day. Which, hey, $200 for the day, $1,000 for the week, $4,000 for the month. It's not bad cash to have in your pocket, especially on a day like this when it's pretty gnarly price action, at least for me. I'm sure others have made bank in this kind of conditions, but for me, this feels very indecisive. I think the only other move I could have taken today is the short. We had this double top reversal here. Which I don't know if I was even at my desk at that point. I might have stepped away. But since Warsh is speaking, it just adds a bit of an unknown factor to the session. Okay, we're gonna be about 2 minutes from the top of the hour, and if that case, if I don't see anything here compelling, I'm gonna drop my chart alert down to this exact level. It's at 9.6. And just step away from the charts. And if I hear a price alert hit, I'll maybe turn my attention back on, but I'll stop streaming in 2 minutes. Okay, I see some more absorbed sellers here potentially happening. Okay, they're gone. Probably if you're a scalper, you could have found some good setups here. I don't really think of myself as a scalper. I don't think I have that quick of reaction time to do those kind of trades. Just look at this level here where we found support before. Now we've found resistance. Support here and then resistance, resistance, resistance. We do have this delta here. Okay, it's top of the hour. And the value area low here. And if we look at the volume profile chart, you can see that price has been migrating in the value area to the downside, right? Look at that trail. I got these trailing lines here. It's coming down here, maybe made a bit of a bump up, and now it's been migrating down again. Value area high has kind of been stuck here. The POC has been up here as well, which makes me think it might snap back if we test the -2 VWAP in this demand zone. Especially because we have today's point of control above the previous day point of control, which shows we do have value migrating to the upside, and the whole value area itself. You see the value area high is below the previous value area high is below today's value area low. So we have been establishing price to the upside. This feels like one of those situations where it's going to be just kind of churning around here and slowly accumulating before it makes a potential move, especially if NQ finds any lift here. But now it's broken to the downside of the opening range, and yes, I've been testing that. It might be tough to get any kind of meaningful retracement to the upside again. Okay, well, I'm going to call it here. I'll take my one green trade. Not a bad way to start the first day on a funded account, especially in these more challenging conditions. Hope everybody did well today, and we will see you again tomorrow. Have a good one.